Imagine walking through life where no one ever notices you. No greetings, no eye contact, not even a simple glance. For one quiet high school boy, this is his reality. People don't see him. It's not that they ignore him, it's like he doesn't exist at all. But one day, everything changes when a single girl looks his way and refuses to look away. A quiet student sits in class, completely invisible to his classmates. He tries to speak up, but no one reacts. Teachers forget to call his name, friends don't seem to notice he's there, and even automatic doors fail to open for him. But then a girl turns toward him, smiling brightly. "Hey," she says. It's the first time someone has really looked at him in years. She's not just any girl, she's the most lively, cheerful person in class, always full of energy. Unlike everyone else, she sees him completely, and she won't let him disappear. Every single day, she finds ways to pull him into the world, making sure others notice him too. It starts with small things. She asks him to borrow a pencil, even though she has her own. She waves at him in the hallway, calling his name loud enough for the whole school to hear. She drags him into conversations, making him answer questions so others have to listen. Slowly, things change. One afternoon, she forces him to stand on his chair and do a hero pose during class. The whole class burst into laughter. For the first time, he feels seen, not just as a shadow in the background, but as someone who exists. As days pass, she finds more ways to bring him out of his shell. She makes him do a challenge, buying snacks from a busy convenience store. It sounds easy, but to someone who feels invisible, it's terrifying. Yet, with her encouragement, he takes a deep breath, steps forward, and for the first time, the cashier actually notices him. During lunch, she makes him sit with her. Other students glance over, confused. "Who's that?" they whisper. But she doesn't care. She proudly introduces him, making sure everyone knows his name. Slowly, the walls of invisibility start to crack. One of the biggest moments comes during the winter festival. She invites him out, dragging him through the snowy streets, chattering excitedly about food stands and festival games. As they walk, he realizes something shocking. People are looking at him. They're reacting to him. He's finally part of the world. She buys him a warm drink and teases him about how serious he always looks, but then she suddenly grows quiet. A single snowflake lands on his nose, and she laughs. "See, even the snow notices you now." As time goes on, she keeps pushing him into the spotlight. When their class gets assigned a project, she pairs up with him, making sure he presents their work in front of the whole class. His hands shake, his voice wavers, but when he looks at her, she gives him a reassuring nod. He takes a deep breath and speaks up. By the end, people are clapping. For the first time, he feels like he belongs. One day, he finds her sitting in the school library, waiting for him. She's holding two books, one for him and one for herself. "Let's read together," she says. He's surprised, but sits beside her. They read in silence, but it's the most comfortable silence he's ever felt. He's not alone. He's never alone when she's around. At home, his older brother teases him about his new friend. His grandmother, the only person who ever truly acknowledged him before, smiles knowingly. "You seem brighter these days," she says, and for the first time, he believes it might be true. During a school trip, something surprising happens. When the teacher calls attendance, his name is actually heard. He's shocked. Usually, they skip him. His classmates glance over as if seeing him for the first time, all because one girl refused to let him disappear. But then something even bigger happens. He loses his way in the crowd. Normally, this would mean being forgotten for hours. But this time, she finds him instantly. "I knew you'd be here," she says, grabbing his hand. "You can't disappear from me." As Christmas approaches, she invites him to a celebration. At first, he hesitates, but she refuses to take no for an answer. That night, as they walk under twinkling lights, she slips a small gift into his hands. "Merry Christmas," she says with a bright smile. He unwraps it to find a keychain with his name on it. "Now, no one can forget you." As days turn into weeks, he realizes something important. It's not that people couldn't see him before, it's that he never let them. He always assumed he was invisible, so he never tried to be noticed. But she changed everything. Because of her, he starts speaking louder, standing straighter, and looking people in the eye. And little by little, the world starts to see him too. One day, as they sit under the cherry blossoms, she suddenly asks, "Do you want to be with me forever?" He's stunned. No one has ever cared about him enough to ask such a thing. His heart pounds, and for the first time, He doesn't hesitate. Yes, he says. She smiles, leaning her head against his shoulder. Good, because I was never going to let you go anyway. One evening, as they walk home together, she suddenly stops. Do you know why I notice you? She asks. He shakes his head. Because you're special. You just don't see it yet. For the first time, he smiles without hesitation. He's no longer invisible. He's no longer just a shadow in the background. And it's all thanks to the girl who refused to let him disappear. As the sun sets, they walk side by side, their laughter echoing through the quiet streets. His story isn't over, it's just beginning. And from now on, he won't let himself fade away ever again. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for more amazing anime recaps